Hola. How you doing, Ed? Oh, you're muted.
I'm muted. Now I'm here. Oh, it's a Monday. How are you?
Good. Similarly bonkers day. Yeah.
Getting there.
Yeah.
You
Nice.
got any? Do you celebrate Memorial Day in the United States? Or are you Canadian through and through?
I guess. Yeah. No, we do. So when is Memorial Day? Is that today?
Monday or next Monday?
Next Monday. Yeah. So I am actually going to. We have a similar holiday in Canada, but it's traditionally actually today. So most people in Canada have today off. But,
so you're working though today.
Yeah, and so I'm going to travel home on the time that we have off, because for other reasons.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. You guys have met, right? Evan and Rico?
Yes.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so we'll give it a few minutes. But Don, how is the great beyond? Are you able to hear us? Are you able to talk to us from overseas? Oh.
Hi. I'm with Lourdes.
Oh man, what's going on, Lourdes? How you doing?
Oh, she can't hear you.
Oh.
I can unplug there.
Hello.
Hey.
How's the data and the justice?
It's pretty justicey. It's pretty just.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
How are you doing? Are you adjusting to the time zone, or are you all? Yeah, fair.
I think I'm getting better at it.
Nice. It sounds like, no, I'm not.
Yeah, I've been here longer. I'm a veteran now.
Wait, how long have you been over?
Since Friday morning.
Oh man, fantastic. Nice. So you took the opportunity to go up a little early.
Yeah, I visited friends, and then I'm flying to Paris in 2 days.
Lucky. Yeah. That's fancy.
Well, I'll let you get back to your
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. That's fair game. But
you're leading this one, right?
I guess I am. Yeah. And we were very much hoping to show you some query stuff, but our network just crashed on us. So
oh no.
But I'm gonna send you the link anyways, because it's fun, and why not? But yeah. And we're also leading discussion around re-engaging data rescuers, which doesn't require an app. And so, I just give you a link to that. If you guys feel like downloading that, go ahead. But it's we've finished a bunch of stuff at Query that we think makes life a little easier. I was really hoping to demo a bunch of TRI data sets that we've been working on adding. But they are not functioning. So if you go there right now, you might be able to see an edgy peer with some TRI data sets that will just crash and not work. But what this is we finally turned the corner. We've launched our Electron app with auto update. And so now when you download that, it'll just sort of keep itself in sync and up to date with all of the rapid changes that we're shipping from time to time. But yeah. Anyways, wanted to chat about so in with that, we are at Query, we're sort of like pretty hell-bent on switching back into data add mode. And one of the big things that we wanted to sort of tackle with that is sort of re-engaging a lot of the work that has already been done at Data Rescues and trying to surface some of that. And so our original sort of like, yes, should I just start into this, or should we wait for anybody? It's 5:05. Just go for it.
I pinged.
Yeah.
People, so I think we can. I mean, I didn't do a good job on Slack, but I did some private pinging.
Okay, perfect. It's no worries. I'm happy with a lot of y'all. But yeah, so we've been thinking about like, okay, cool, we're gonna resurrect some like data archiving purposes, just because we need a bunch of test data to work with, and we think it'd be really fun to try and honor the work that everybody did at Data Rescues. And so there's a couple of ways that we're sort of hashing out a plan for how to go about that. And we've got two that I've sort of wanted to outline, and then get input on what you guys think might be a mechanism for prioritizing, which, yes, go ahead, Don.
Sorry, I feel like I know you all probably talked about this before, so apologies. But could you clarify, like, who is doing the outreach? Is this a Data Together initiative?
I don't know about outreach yet, actually. So actually, be fully clear, I didn't know if we were going to reach out specifically to people yet. I thought that was more of a community choice. The thing that I wanted to make sure that we were doing is we've finally built some distributed web stuff, and people have done a bunch of work writing scripts that have sort of like, that do a lot of data ingest and like provenance work. And so our first thought was to at least go and like take a lot of that work and get it into a distributed form, and then figure out what to do with it. So I hadn't really crossed the bridge onto like what to do once we actually have data functioning. It was more like, hey, people are doing good stuff, and there's already good stuff here. And so it just seemed like a good idea to start with the work that's already been done. Does that make sense? Yeah, so so just to lay out the rest of that plan with that, the first thinking was to, so I went back to the archivers.space app and sort of like started working through the list of URLs. And it's pretty sizable, and you have to, the thing that we're looking for are at the data rescue events, we asked people to include any scripts that they wrote in this tools directory, which was just like, which ended up in the zip archives of the Data Refuge site. And so very few of the actual archives created had the tools included in them, but the ones that did were often really nice scripts that were quite elegant and worked well. And so the first thought was to just go through those and start working with them. But one of the sort of questions that I wanted to bring to the table and ask everybody about was, is there, inside of that list of roughly 150 data sets that have tools included, should we be thinking of some mechanism to prioritize that? And what's up, Matt? And yeah, sorry, we're midway through discussing a plan for what to attack first. And on the other side of things, we have like a specific set of things that were outlined in the Doris Duke grant that Edgy went through in terms of stuff to archive, and we have written a bunch of scripts for those. And so the question was, how should we prioritize these? And then what would we do with all this stuff if we actually got it up and running? Like, could we forward some new? My thinking there is like, we could have some situation where it's like, hey, we took your script, and like direct one-to-one reach out for anybody whose script worked, and just be like, hey, just so you know, we did this with your thing. Thank you so much. And if you want to participate in backing up, just pin this hash on IPFS, and we can include directions on how to do that. But that was just a suggestion. Yeah, Don.
Cool. Sorry for misunderstanding before. So I'm just trying to take the notes, and this is what I'm imagining in my head. You're sort of saying the archivers.space containing scripts, the Doris Duke archiving scripts. So I would actually add to that a third one, which seems like the biggest source, and then this is also like me doing like a throw to even, where people then included them in our GitHub repository. Like, those are the more refined and abstracted scripts anyway.
Oh yeah.
So to me, that might even be the best place to start. But then that also, I think, is like, Jeff and even had put in a lot of thinking about that. And so I wonder if maybe, I don't know if this is the time to have that conversation, but just trying to think through where the status of that is as it relates to Data Together, and then query. And then I also have another question, but this is a question that I just don't know the answer to. Is there an issue with looking at those scripts for this purpose if the people just uploaded them to Archiver Space. Like we never did like an assigning copyright thing, and I don't know how it works, but I did just have a friend go through getting a letter to take down something because they had used code that was ambiguously licensed. So just flagging that, but I don't know any, like I don't know.
That's a really good point. Yeah. Okay, I think I can quickly answer that one, I think, with what seems like the rational thing, the rational course of action is just to flip those, instead of just wantonly taking the script and repeating the execution of it, go try and contact that person and say, hey, are you cool if we rerun this and put it on the D-Web? And then if we don't get an answer inside of a week, then we'll just go do it. It's like we asked. It might be Josh. Okay, let's not do that. So, and the other thing I was thinking we could do is go back to the point you made earlier, which is we've got Evan on the call who's done a ton of work around this stuff and the Edgy repos, and maybe we just start there, and Doris Duke, and that's already a great chunk of stuff. And so I can go look through the other ones for any licensing, and if there is an actual license. Some of them I know did have licenses. They were quite few and far between, if I remember correctly. But yeah, Evan, does that make sense? Do you want to give an update on where you were with the custom crawling stuff?
Sure, I can give an. So we haven't touched it for a couple months for sure. But Jeff and I were basically at a point where we were ready to kind of hook into Query, from what I remember correctly, like getting API keys into it for some basic like text tabular data type things. And so we had some preliminary types of like tab, CSV, that kind of stuff, but we hadn't really gotten that far. I think Dawn is correct in like saying we want to be careful with stuff that other people have written. So it seems like it does make sense to maybe start with Archiver Tools or the Doors Day stuff, just because it seems like we have more ownership, or licensing, maybe licensing is a better word, over that kind of stuff. And we could also, since we are familiar with our Archiver Tools, we can maybe move faster on that too, like updating that kind of stuff, possibly. That might be another avenue. So yeah, that's what I think. I think probably focusing on Archiver Tools and the GitHub first might be the way to go.
That sounds like a great idea. This is already cleared up. I feel like I've already had something very productive out of this meeting, which is don't go sprinting through all of those archives, because they're also a really big pain to like work through, especially considering we have GitHub. Don, what's up?
I know. I mean, it's just because that example like literally came up in the last week that it like was the first thing that I thought of. But I don't think that they're necessarily a problem, right? It just seems like there might be a couple things to think through and be like, okay, this is our strategy that we're going to use when we go through this stuff. And if it sounds like more people some people included licenses, and there's a way to go back to people, that maybe would be fine. Just to say that we did do a bunch of that, like trying to reach out to people after an event to be like, hey, you did this thing, this was awesome, we want to put it into that main repo. And we didn't have a lot of success of getting those PR'd in, I would say, because people kind of like moved on. And now that it's been a while, this might be challenging. But I also just, I think, Brendan, Rico, and probably all of you more than me, maybe have a better sense of some of those like license issues. And it's more just a caveat for like you all as Query to like know your risk or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So you
totally.
probably have a sense of that in a way that like, me as not Query doesn't.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some boundaries there that are worth. I mean, to be honest, it doesn't bother me too much, but I'm more worried about the social side of it, of like somebody being like, I didn't want you to do that, and you did that, and you didn't ask for my consent, or you didn't credit me properly, and that it's the legalese aside, I'm far more concerned about like just doing something that somebody didn't expressly grant permission to do, and that's yeah. So I think I think on that basis, then let's just start with the we've got three really great avenues to start with. The archiver custom crawling stuff, the edgy actual repos themselves, and then just the giant list of Doris Duke deliverables. And I think all of those are a really good start. Of the three, does there seem to be any major priority? Or is there like, I know that we have like methods for, we have ad nauseum talked about methods for assessing the priority for archiving, but I'm just wondering about like, okay, we're actually about to put it in action. So it's like, and so some of the obvious stuff that like just came to my mind was like there was some basic starting points, like the toxic release inventories and like tracking the dataset.json, data.json of the EPA and HUD and a couple of other agencies. This is all just really easy stuff, but yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like there should be some way for us to set up a like, hey, if somebody has free archiving time, you should do this. And this feels like really covered territory. Don, what's up?
Yeah, I'm just sorry, and I'm just gonna blame on travels. I don't know if I understood exactly what you're asking. I thought this was like you wanting to sort of like look at scripts to flip over into sort of like query recipes. But now what I'm hearing is you're saying you kind of want to set up a request system for data on query. And I feel like who do you expect to use it? Because I would say if we're imagining this is something that archiving folk would use, like I would be nervous to flip to a new tool right now. And I would wonder why the existing flows that we're trying to work on, like with data together, are not. But I feel like I'm not understanding exactly what you're proposing.
I think you were right to point to the like. Wait a second, there was some shift there. I was just more trying to figure out how to get. Yeah, not looking for. Trying to avoid at all costs inventing something new. Like, can we use something that already exists? But B, we're trying to figure out what to prioritize, and we can just pick at random for this, prioritize for the conversion to query recipes. But the question is just like, it would be really nice if we could do group input on when that happens. But if it's at the cost of learning some new tool or taking energy away from a more broad community effort, that's not what I'm looking to do. Does that make sense? Yes, we're quite confused. Don, are you okay?
Well, I just try to, okay, sorry, still confused, just so sorry. Is the point that once it's a recipe, you all as query are gonna run it using query? Sorry. So
what does it do and how?
Yeah. No, just because we're not, I mean, just with edgy work, I could be wrong, but I think from the archiving perspective, we're not actively collecting data right now.
No, yeah.
And so it seems like on a bespoke basis, when something comes up, we sort of are triaging what our approach is. But also the last couple times it came up, one, it wound up being super bespoke. That was the EIS thing.
Mm-hmm.
So badass. And then the other times we've always said oh, isn't this the thing that data together will do?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I missing something?
Unresolved. Yeah, I don't know. I think because we're not actively. So when you say we at Edgy, we're not actively engaging in archiving stuff, but obviously we are on the query side. And the theory with the query recipes is anybody can write them and anybody can run them. And so when you run it, it just runs on your local node, and then that creates a data set that anybody else can grab. And so we're trying to sort of set some examples with this. So maybe if we can recontextualize this as just hey, this is work that's being done, they can be directed instead of sitting inside of the lens data together specifically or any of our existing efforts, because it is kind of just new effort that we're doing. Does that make sense? I don't know. I don't want to step on toes, but it's just we're here and we're doing it.
Does the difficulty in answering this question come down to the problem that we've, you know, talked around a lot in the last 6 months, which is who is our user base? So that seems to me like a little bit what you're asking is what, you know, particular data sets might it be interesting for someone to have on query? We can't answer it because we don't know who we speak to as potential users. So if the question is like, would we rather have EIS or the Doris Duke deliverables or, you know, some other thing as a test case? At Edgy, I think the answer is, fuck, we don't know. We don't know who we're talking to a little bit.
A little bit. I mean, we do have the Climate Alliance thing coming up, and they're expecting a bunch of data, and like, there's questions about, you know, I know they're itching to get at some of that stuff, and so I don't think that that's totally the case at Edgy. I mean, I think right now the answer is, you know, but I know that we are an environmental data and governance initiative, which already takes the user base and scopes it a little bit, and so I think there's a little bit there that we could work on, but. Yeah, I mean, it's none of this is this sounds like it's creating confusion and questions, and none of this was intended to do that, or it's just trying to be helpful. And to whatever degree we can work on the right stuff, that's great. But if even answering the question creates more questions that are frustrating, then
I tell me if I'm wrong, Don. I think the problem is that for me, it brings up like the anxiety, like of why do we exist at Edgy a little bit. And therefore becomes difficult to answer, and we become unhelpful a little bit. I personally, you know, like I'm like still feeling kind of out of it from the long period when I was less engaged, and then, you know, just coming back right now. So I'm kind of hanging back, listening to the answers, and will also just go along with what other people say, you know, and try to be supportive.
Go ahead.
Yeah, like I'm not frustrated or anything. I guess I think my major thought is more like I'm just really nervous about capacity at all times. I feel like I wear my "do we have enough capacity" hat in like every call. And so if I'm trying to understand like who is imagined who will use it and maintain it, and like what work it see this doing, because I could see there might be I just want to make sure I understand that part, because it seemed like there could be a way that it would sort of entail a shift or like a transition in terms of like Edgy people being involved in another thing. But it doesn't sound like that. And so I'm going to say what I think I now understand you were talking about, which is that the recipes will go up. You, as the people who write the recipes, will also have like run them once, so the data will be available on query. But other people can like grab and go with those recipes using query to like test it all out. And or then they could make a modification of it because it looks sick and they are interested in a thing which is slightly related. And that sounds dope. Like that sounds really cool. So I mean, of course, like drawing on all of the all of the stuff that got us to where we are now to like help build those recipes out seems really cool. And I think, I don't know, I'm sorry, I'm subscribed to so many repos, so I can't tell if this is coming in from, because also Toronto Mesh has just started a node recipe repo. So I'm not sure if I've been getting notifications from your recipe repo or the TO Mesh one. But well, I mean, probably getting them from both. But one of them has like a prior art place. And so there's like a way that they're linking. So I can't tell if this is yours or not, which I thought was really neat. Like it linked into, at least one of the recipes I saw linked to like a flow or like a model. Oh, I think it was a TO Mesh one of like where it was elsewhere. also so people could see like the end case of it and the recipe, and that was really, I thought, interesting to be like,
That's
oh,
lovely.
you get to build your version of this thing. But anyways,
Yeah. No, but I think so. The prior art thing was definitely not us. That sounds way too cool. But B, that's exactly what we're sort of trying to propose here. I think I think we're actually all saying the same thing, just on slightly different pages, which is like Query's going to be doing some work. We're going to be uploading some of these recipes. We will be running them. We'll be maintaining them. We've actually, in the next couple of weeks, it's not even weeks, next few days, you will have a version of an Electron app that you can download and just hit a button, and that copies it to your IPFS node. And now you've backed up data, right? And so for us, the goal is to bring this much closer to like push button to help world, that kind of stuff. And so like for us, we're really excited about that, but it's all we're looking for is just like, cool, we in terms of capacity measurement, like we have some capacity. And so we're delighted to be directed if that's helpful. But if even the direction, what I'm hearing from here is like, it might be fun to just like, I have a couple of spots that I know I want to chase because I think that they'll be really interesting use examples and like stuff that we've been talking about at Edgy a bunch. And so I'll go build data sets out of that. Well, we will go build data sets out of that and recipes out of that, and then show what's possible from there. And maybe that'll spark some interesting conversation and whatnot. But in no means is this like anybody needing to contribute capacity or anything. It was more, I was more hoping, like, I actually feel like I already got a lot out of this call from what we needed, which is just like chasing this stuff that's already on the Edgy tool set and maybe doing a conversion of that into a recipe and showing like, hey, this is, how that works, and make it something that executes and can be re-executed on a continual basis, and then show that sync history, which is the thing we've really been missing. I think that's the thing that we'll sort of try and show. And so we'll start there, and then hopefully in the coming weeks loop back with the custom crawling stuff, and sort of, because I've been keeping an eye on the Python stuff that is in the Data Together org, and I'm very excited. I can see the clear places where it hooks into what we're working on right now, and so it's going to be. I think it'll be fairly straightforward to bring that set of tools in the fold. But yeah, so I think it's good. I mean, yeah, I was very excited to show you guys some stuff today, but you can still download that thing, except for you, Matt, because you're a Linux guy. You'll have to build from source.
Did you do away with the dog names?
No, they're still there. They're still there in a big way.
All right.
Yeah.
The day we the day we stop doing dog names is the day you stop seeing me attend meetings like this and working for Query. So that's
wow.
that's like a shots fired.
Yeah.
It's become quite the cultural thing around here.
You know.
Can I maybe make an ask to all y'all on this call before we wrap up? I took back PackOn. I haven't gotten an answer from him. I had sort of offered to demo decision making stuff within the next couple weeks, and Matt Price and I were talking about the reading group structure. And so we probably have to pick up that email thread with Evan and Protocol Lab folks, because we're going to see if there's a way to kind of invite also across to the protocol community. And that would maybe be in this time slot. But just, we had pitched earlier, maybe dropping down to a slightly reduced schedule in June, July, August for roundtables, but also we have a dearth of roundtable topics. So do people have ideas and or, aside from the two I just mentioned, which is reading group, PackOn, I just want to float, and maybe we could talk in the Slack about maybe skipping one a month or something, so dropping down to 3 or even 2. So just putting that out there.
I think that's a great idea over the summer. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think we will be slowing down in the summer. Yeah, I don't have more ideas, Don. I do feel like I've been dropping in slower than I expected. said Matt, who's been reading the surfing book. And as a result of dropping in so slowly, I am not catching a lot of waves. I'm getting pummeled by them.
Great metaphor. You're going to be fine. I'm happy to have you remotely involved and connected.
I do like that idea of reaching back out to the people at some point. Like we should definitely keep that in mind, like in the archiver space when we get query like up and testing enough to like reach back out to those folks. I think that was a really cool idea. Be like, hey, we built this tool, come back, whatever, you know.
Hell yeah. I think that prior art concept is like a great thing when we're ambiguous about the license. We can say, hey, we really loved your recipe or your script from the tools. We had to make some modifications or we wrote this and so it's not the same. We don't have any licensing issues, but here it is. Check it out. You can, yeah, totally agree. Yeah, I think I really just want to sort of connect back with anybody who took the time, if at all, even if it's just this email that goes completely unanswered. But yeah. Totally agreed. Okay, well, it's 5:31 or 11:31, depending on where you are. John, you want to close it out? 10:31.
Yeah, no, I just want to say the thing I said in the chat specifically out loud so it's on the call. I think also we should sunset stuff. So imagining a time where we close that down and link people somewhere else is, I think, okay.
I agree. We should have a roundtable around what we can sunset and prep it with a list of things and just like swinging it.
I think that's a post-August conversation.
Yeah, totally.
But I look forward to not swinging an axe, but
yeah. Just sending things in the right direction. Yeah. Cool. Okay, we get rolling. Y'all are lovely. Have a wonderful evening.
Bye, everybody.